Hello everyone and welcome to Androidizen Live Episode 2. We're broadcasting live on YouTube right now and you can send us your comments and thoughts or your questions. Now, on this week's show we're going to be taking a look at some of the games I've been playing this week. And here's a first title is Fast Racing. An interesting game. It feels quite an indie title in the sense that the graphics are maybe not the best around, the texturing's maybe not the best around, and the gameplay's maybe not the best around. But put it all together and it's actually quite a competent racer. At times the game can feel a little slow and you can kind of feel like you're just on a bit of a merry-go-round, which is a bit of a shame. The AI is not quite as competitive as I would like. This car in front will stay in front pretty much for the entire race, and the cars behind me will stay behind me for pretty much the entire race. There's not an awful lot of trading places going on that I could see in this game, which was a bit of a pity, I thought. Now, one of the things that really interested me with this particular title was kind of how we've moved to a position now where games can be produced by independent developers which have pretty good gameplay, reasonable graphics, and quite a lot of content, but are released for free. And yeah, we've got the in-app purchases thing there, and it's emulating an awful lot of has been done with things like Need for Speed, Real Racing, and other titles, but it's quite a competent game. You know, we've had some pretty rubbish games out on Android over the years, and this one's not one of the worst. So, I mean, what I would personally say with Fast Racing is, if you're looking for a different type of racing experience, this one held my interest for a few hours. Certainly more so than some other titles. Like Real Racing I find a bit of a drag, not figuratively obviously, but you know, it's not a game that I find myself playing for hours and hours at a time. With Fast Racing I found that I was actually still sat there an hour later quite happily playing away on it. It's not a bad title at all. Now, moving on to another game that confused me slightly in what exactly it wanted to say about racing in general was Fast and Furious 6, which is basically a tie-in with a movie game. And the idea is you are a hotshot racer and you have to compete in a series of events to prove that you're an absolutely hot racer. Now, the only problem is that the game doesn't really feature any racing as such. It's all a series of quick time events where you have to press on the screen at just the right moment, like shift now. If you don't shift now, you don't pick up enough speed. And the idea is to beat the other car you're racing against. And here it's going into drift mode. And the idea is, again, you press the button at the right time to drift, and then you press again to stop your drift. And it's all about getting the timing right. But the problem is it kind of loses a lot of what makes the game fun. As in a racing game, it should be about more of your skill at actually negotiating the corners, keeping your speed on and so on. Too much of the game is just automated, which is a real pity because the graphics are fantastic, and it tying in with a movie and so on, you know, not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, it's not one of the worst movie tie-ins I've ever played, but at the same time it's not exactly one of the best movie tie-ins I've ever played. Although I'm actually struggling to think of any really good movie tie-ins. Let me know in the comments if you can think of any. On to the next game that I've been playing this week, which is an old classic, has to be said, as far as you know, Android is concerned, but it's Granny Smith. I mean, it's just a fantastically fun title. You are Granny Smith. You are basically competing against a burglar kid who is trying to steal all of your apples. You're going to have to beat the burglar down the course, collecting coins and collecting the apples as you go. You earn points effectively for grabbing the apples or for you know, collecting the coins. Everything is based on kind of physics, so a lot of the time you have to make your jumps and orientate yourself so that your skates land back on the ground at the right angle. Get it right and you'll continue to build up speed. Get it wrong, you'll slow down and you'll crash and you'll have to restart the level. And one thing I just found so wonderful about this game is it's very simplistic in the way it kind of approaches this idea, but it does it so flawlessly that it's just a wonderful game to keep picking up and playing. Originally it was a Tegra 3 title, though now you can grab it on absolutely anything, and it's just well worth downloading. It's just such a fun game. One of the things I really liked is at the end of every level it will then take you through a replay that shows you how you did, including all of the moves and so on, so you can kind of learn a little bit if you didn't do quite so well or if you missed one of the apples. You can go back and just see if there was something you could tweak if you did the run again. A really nice little touch, and it just adds this kind of nostalgia feel that this game has. It's a very kid-safe game, it's a very friendly game, and it just works so well. Here's the quick replay. Just going to leave you with this for a moment while I go and send a few social media messages. Hang on, bear with me. And so the next title I spent quite a lot of time playing this month, or this week should I say, is GunBros. It's a title, GunBros 2 should I say, GunBros being the original, which was an alright title, but I always found that it was really laggy on every device I tried to play it on, like the HTC Desire back in the day. But GunBros 2, it ups the graphics ante considerably. The gameplay itself, it remains completely unchanged. You and your buddy have to defeat wave after wave of aliens using more and more outlandish guns. You pick up bonus points and so on for destroying things, as well as gaining XP that you can use to upgrade your character and your guns, etc. It's not a bad title. If you played the original and enjoyed it, you'll certainly enjoy this one. I found it a little bit too samey for my liking, although the graphics have been dramatically improved. Certainly it's a game worth playing, but a bit limited, I'd say. Now, on to another title that has had me engrossed really far longer than I absolutely should. Into the Dead. It's a very clever concept, and the idea is you've basically crashed in a helicopter. Zombies are ruling the world by best I can tell, and you're going to have to try and escape. So you have to escape the zombies, and you're going to have to go into the dead to do it. And the idea is that you tilt your device left or right to avoid the zombies and the other obstacles that litter the landscape. If you get too close to a zombie, he may be able to grab you and throw you kind of off course, which means that you're going to be slightly impaired when it comes to dodging obstacles or other zombies. If you run slap bang into a zombie, well, I'm afraid he's going to eat you. Simple as that. But everything is done in this kind of crazy 2D plane, but with 3D objects. It just works beautifully well. It's such a clever concept for a game. As you progress through the game, you can get power-ups and so on, like guns, that you can use to quickly kill zombies in front of you, but limited bullets. There are other power-ups as well. You can also add power-ups after each run, as it were, to improve your ability to get through the level further and further. It's an endless runner, and so the whole idea really is to beat your previous high score, get as far as you possibly can. And as you see, now we've gone into a cornfield and things become quite a bit more difficult. I'm now going to have to vault over the top of that. And you see how I staggered there and got clipped by a zombie and staggered again, and it all adds to the kind of nail-biting tension of the game that, as things get a bit more dense and as there's more creatures, and we're gone. As you can see, it's just a wonderful, wonderful title, and Into the Dead is worth picking up if you were looking for that kind of zombie experience. Just an absolute classic, instant classic, I would say. So then we come on to a title like Iron Man, the movie. I mean, again, referring back to what I was saying about Fast and the Furious, these kind of games, movie tie-ins, we can't expect too much of them. They tend to be rushed anyway. They're produced within 6 months tops, and they loosely tend to follow the story, but without giving away the main plot. In the Iron Man 3 the movie, it actually picks up after the movie, as it were, or should I say the movie game picks up after the movie. And so, there's a certain element there of actually giving away part of the plot of the final of Iron Man 3, which is a bit strange, but it's only a veiled reference, as it were. If you hadn't watched the film, or if you weren't really aware of the characters involved, then, you wouldn't really notice the reference. Gameplay-wise, it's an endless runner. The idea is to be Iron Man, fly around these environments, collecting these red orbs, which basically power you up. It also allows you to unlock new features and so on. You have to avoid obstacles, use your various lasers and weaponry to destroy incoming enemy fire, and everything works on a couple of different levels. So in a short while you'll see that I actually have to fly up into the sky and avoid objects and fight things there. The gameplay is really good. The graphics are okay. Given that it's trying to keep a really quick frame rate, you can kind of forgive some of the texture smearing. It is a title, I think, by Gameloft, so again, you have to forgive. Well, no, we don't have to forgive Gameloft for anything. We can accept that in Gameloft titles we aren't going to get the best quality textures. They're aiming to get these games running on the widest range of devices possible. Obviously, with a movie tie-in, that's absolutely paramount, as it were. No pun intended. But as gameplay goes, there's some really interesting ideas. This piece here, where what you have to do is draw on the screen to avoid the bomb and destroy the things you have to destroy. And so it creates a certain element of kind of skill in addition to just dodging things. And you can see here's a high-speed section where we have to dodge these various vans, picking up the orbs as we go, and back up into the sky again. Ooh, mind some damage. And again, orbs appear in the sky, jets to avoid. The game, considering that most movie tie-ins aren't particularly great, it's not a bad title at all. The frame rate does suffer at times though, unfortunately. Here we go. And as we level up, we can get new suits, upgrade our gear, etc. It's not a bad title. It's well worth picking up, and the graphics, aren't too bad. So on to our next title, which is Jetpack Joyride, which many of you will know I reviewed the other day and really enjoyed. It's an older title now, but it's worth making mention of that. Some of these older titles are well worth grabbing, especially if you've not played them before on any platform. It's like having a whole new experience. So if you're new to Android and you're looking for some some older games to play, some of the retro titles I suppose you could call them, then this is certainly one to grab. In Jetpack Joyride, you basically are trying to steal a jetpack. You have to get down the end of the levels, avoiding the scientists and all of their crazy contraptions, and as you can see, using your jetpack to destroy anything that might get in your way. The gameplay is really fun. The graphics, whilst it's more simplistic and cartoon style, work really nicely, and it works well on any Android device I've ever tried it on. And so, it's just a great, safe title to pick up and play whenever you might need to. Which has also similarly been around for a little while is Judge Dredd vs. Zombies. It's very much a 3D title. You are Judge Dredd, you are stuck with a load of zombies, and you're going to have to destroy them all. As you destroy them, you gain points and XP, better weaponry, etc. And overall, it's just a great fun title from a British team of developers, which, I always favour. I absolutely love what British developers tend to turn out, because we have our own unique style and way of kind of communicating in games, I always think. Tend to be a bit more story-based, in my opinion. But, one of the great things with this particular game is it captures what Judge Dredd is all about. Maybe not the best graphics, and maybe not the best representation of Judge Dredd. It's very much based on the comic books as opposed to the movie that came out recently. But it's a great fun title, and it's one that's going to just keep you playing for hours and hours. And more importantly, each level's fairly short, so it's got that great pick up and play dynamic that I really, really like. So next up is another title which some people, regular commenters to the Androidizen, let me know about. Mini Dash. This one actually had missed me for some reason at the time, and it's basically like a vertical platformer. And so your little dude, Mini Dash, can stick to various surfaces and run along them. And so what you have to do is kind of jump onto a surface and then tilt slightly, and you can run up it or jump up it, and you have to escape the various levels. The gameplay is just so good. It's kind of got that Angry Birds thing going on, where it's just one more level. Just got to complete the next level and see what happens next, and just progress a little bit more. But as you see there, whoops, well, as you can see there before I inadvertently die, running along the tops of the environment to avoid objects and obstacles is just as important as being able to jump and so on. And there's just so many levels here to play, and it's a very skill-based game. A lot of timing is involved. Because you're also playing against the clock, the idea is to try and complete the levels as fast as you can without dying, not just to complete the levels. And so it adds some extra elements to it all that I really, really enjoy. Now, a title that I've spent way too much time on is Modern Combat 4 Zero Hour. Now, Zero Hour is the update to Modern Combat 4. It adds new multiplayer game modes, makes a few tweaks to the graphics in my opinion as well, which I think are well worth it. They're minor really, but I could notice them. And overall, the gameplay is still just as fantastic. This is Call of Duty and Battlefield on our mobile devices. Now, what you can actually see here is I'm not playing this with my Android device directly. I'm actually using a Mogger game controller, one of these. And the idea behind it is you basically hook up your Android device to your Mogger controller using Bluetooth, and then you've got that full console experience, but using Android. So, you know, the Mogger controllers are very similar to Xbox controllers. As you can see kind of the way that they're shaped and the way they actually fit and sit in your hand, where your buttons are placed and everything. Very Xboxy. And so it lends itself really well to a game which is basically cloning an Xbox game and a console game, Call of Duty. One of the things that I found, you can kind of instantly tell in this game who's using a controller and who isn't, because those people with a controller are a lot more accurate. Those people who are playing, you know, on the pad, maybe using their tilt controls, etc., they don't stand a chance really against someone who can immediately say, well, there's your head, I'm locking on and I'm killing you. It's as simple as that. The gameplay for multiplayer on Zero Hour is great, the graphics are fantastic, and you hook it up with a game controller, and I don't bother playing my PlayStation 3 anymore. Simple as that. I don't own an Xbox anymore because I got sick to death of them paying to play multiplayer. Blimey. And obviously I'm a massive PC gamer anyway, so PC games is kind of where if I'm going to be gaming like high resolution, then it's going to be realistic on a PC. When I want that personal kind of style of gaming, when I'm looking for something that's a little bit different, get out my Android, grab my Mogger controller and play a little bit of Modern Combat Zero Hour. You really can't get much better as a shooter currently on any of the Android devices, and I know I've played quite a few of the shooters on Android. Modern Combat is by far the pinnacle, and I can't wait to see what they do for the fifth one. You can only assume that they are really going to tear it up. If we kind of consider that things like the Galaxy S4, HTC One, games aren't really being optimised for those yet, and so when we're playing games like Modern Combat 4 on them, we have to kind of bear in mind we're getting a game that was optimised for last year's hardware, not this year's hardware. And so, you know, I'm really looking forward to seeing what Modern Combat 5 might do, and certainly my hope is they really increase the graphics quality to something rotten, as it were, boost those texture resolutions as well, and deliver a game that rivals what we currently have from like Battlefield and Call of Duty on the consoles. I think we may get very close to it this year. Oh, I didn't need that grenade in the end anyway. Now, a slightly more sedate title that I really enjoyed playing is This Could Hurt. It's a really clever idea. Now, the idea is you're a guy, you have to escape these various levels, avoiding traps, and it's done in this kind of 3D block style world. Now, by tapping on the screen, your guy pauses, and so you can avoid the various traps and damage. And you have to navigate this 3D world to escape the level. Here we go, I'm out. I don't know why, but something about this game just really captured my imagination. Possibly because we've not really seen a title like this on Android before that I'm aware of, although I believe I've seen a few on things like the PlayStation Portable and some other kind of independent titles that have appeared on some of the games consoles. But this is the first time I've seen this style of gameplay on Android, and so beautifully realised as well with these gorgeous 3D worlds. It just screams quality at the end of the day, and the developers obviously lavished a lot of time and attention getting this game looking great. But further to that, they've also really got the gameplay working well. The kind of traps that they've come up with, as you can see, they're quite inventive and at times pretty gnarly. A giant boulder that rolls backwards and forwards. Things progress and become more and more difficult, and whilst you can take quite a lot of damage, you don't want to take too much. And you can see here this one where we literally have to run inside bullets or take damage. Just fiendish. If you get the timing wrong, well, by the time you get to the end of that, you'll probably only have half of your life left if you're unlucky. And it just works so well. And so, you know, as a title, this could hurt. It's just brilliant and well worth picking up if you're looking for something to play this weekend. By a long shot, it's probably the favourite game that I've been playing over the last week. Now on to the final title, which is just like a shameless cash-in by the developers. Apologies if the audio is a bit high on this one. Fruit Ninja Skittles. So basically the guys at Fruit Ninja, who produce games where you slice up fruit, have teamed up with Skittles to put Skittles in the game and obviously advertise Skittles as a brand. I just have to say, Skittles are not paying me to advertise this game. I just found it quite interesting and thought I'd show it to you. But it kind of shows the lengths some developers are starting to go to kind of, bankroll, I suppose, their games. And why not? If someone like Skittles or a big brand turns up and says, hey, we'll give you a chunk of cash to build a version of your, very highly popular game, your best-selling game, and stick some Skittles in it, what developer's going to say no? What's interesting though is it's actually been done quite well. They've kind of got in a lot of the skittly stuff, the rainbow and everything like that. And the gameplay is largely unchanged. It's a free-to-play title, so if you're looking for a title just to pick up and play and you like the Fruit Ninja and the slicing style games, it's well worth it, especially as a free-to-play title. Just bear in mind, you are constantly being advertised to with little S's, but at least you get up. Hooray! Anyway, that is Androidizen Live, episode 2. I really hope you've enjoyed the show. Do feel free to leave us comments. Let us know what you'd like to see in next week's show, and we will be back same time next week.